Good morning, my name is bat-chen, and I created my method. It's a survival kit for working in the digital era. The reason we need to be survived is because in the past 10 years we've been bombarded with an enormous amount of communications and notifications, and all of a sudden we have to be available all the time. And this is a new thing that happened in the world. It's the information era that we all have to now confront and deal with. And that's why we need new tools and new tactics to confront with it. So this is a new reality that we didn't have when we were all in our 20s maybe. We were working in a different environment and everything was on a different pace. And all of a sudden it exploded in 2007 when Steve Jobs introduced the smartphone and our lives changed. So now everyone here around the table, from what I heard, feels he's overwhelmed, so know that this is not your fault. This is Silicon Valley's fault. And we are just the victims here. So if that makes you feel any better about yourself, it should. Feel free to interrupt, ask anything, and we're in a small group, so that's great to get the maximum out of the time that we're going to spend together. So the reason I started teaching, 2 years ago, I started teaching my method is because I found out that in the past 10 years, although life has become so hectic, I've been able to achieve a lot of my business goals and personal goals. So this is a list. It's not even full. There are several things that I left out. But if you'll read through it later, because it's a long list, you will see that in addition for doing all kinds of business initiatives and doing all kinds of my personal goals that I've achieved, but I also make sure I always have time for leisure, for sports, for thinking, for contemplating, for relaxing, for yoga, for meditation. Okay, so it's not just taking care of real estate and making sure I have an investment portfolio, which is a great goal of its own. It's not worth it if I don't sleep enough, if I don't have time to think. Okay, so these are the things that I care most for, and the fact that I was able to have a very balanced workday and achieve all of that together got me thinking that I might have a gift here that should be shared so other people can have a relaxed state of mind, but very productive at the same time. Another disease that is new, and you're all working on emails and you should be aware of it, is email apnea, which means that we're changing the way we breathe when we're working on our emails, meaning emails have a way of being a very stressful activity for us. So we forget to breathe, or we breathe in a very shallow manner. And that again hurts us physically immensely. So again, being aware of it is 50% of the solution. So you want to make sure you're taking very deep breaths while working on your emails, and you want. And every night.
Anyway.
Huh?
We do that anyway. Sometimes.
Yeah, you do that. I think a lot of people forget to breathe. And when I say forget to breathe, I mean forget to breathe deeply. Because shallow breathing doesn't get enough oxygen and it's not good for us. I mean, we really need to breathe and inhale in a substantial manner. So there's oxygen going into our brain and our body and is helping us confront whatever the day is challenging us with. So breathe, 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 especially while doing emails. Anyone here practices yoga, by the way? No. Okay. So as someone who practices yoga, you know that yoga is a state of mind. It's a life habit. It's not something you do once a week for an hour. So this is yoga. Remembering to breathe while doing your emails is a yoga state of mind that you're bringing into your workday. I encourage everyone to do yoga. Yoga is really something incredible, and it's a real gift for your body and mind. But it's really something that just follows you throughout the day. It's not something that ends. It's just there all the time. People tend to think or use messages and emails as an urgent communication line, but that is not suitable for urgent messages. Because if that would be an urgent platform or a platform that is suitable for urgent messages, then we should be constantly looking at our emails and constantly living inside our messaging apps. And of course we don't. So that makes them not suitable for any urgent issues. So if anyone wants to send you something urgent, you should clarify it that urgent can only be picking up the phone and calling me, or using a press to talk, okie-dokie, something like of that sort. And that on its own, you said to me I have to be available for the team, and if they call me and I asked you how are they going to contact you if there's something urgent, and so they're going to send me a message. Okay, so that's one of those things that you want to perhaps agree.
I wrote it down.
Huh?
I wrote it down.
Right, because otherwise you have to constantly be looking at your app as your messaging app, and that's not good for your focus, and that's not good for your health. So really get people to use the phone again and pick it up and think very clearly whether this is an urgent matter that needs his attention, his or her attention right now, or can I email him and he'll get to it tomorrow, or he'll get to it when he gets to it. If we find ourselves in this situation, we're not being good parents and we're not being good workers. So it's not fair for either side. And kids' needs are full attention, and we need to give them our full focus, and everyone around here deserves the full focus. That's why I always ask people not coming in with their laptops to my workshops. I want my full focus, because once you open your laptop, it's very easy or very hard to resist to not check your emails or not go into Google or do other things. So we really want to be 100% present at whatever it is that we're doing if we want to get our productivity levels going up again. There's other creative ways to do business that also leave an option for someone to have a personal life, because if that would be the case, then people won't be able to have any personal life going on except for their work life. And there's other ways to approach, so we want to make sure that we're both working, but we're also resting. And resting is not for the sake of rest, because it's so nice to rest. Resting is because it's important for the brain to process and contemplate and plan. And resting allows you to be more efficient and productive because you're more focused when you get to the office the day after. So this is something that is going to help companies grow. This is not going to kill their sales. And yes, working hours don't need to be strict. You can work better if you choose how to manage your day. You'll be much more efficient. In Germany, big corporates are shutting down the email servers for the employees that go on vacation. So even if you click on that icon, nothing's going to happen. No emails are going to drop in. This is great, 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 great news for the employees. And it's the corporates who understand that. They understand that the disconnecting phase is going to get their employees back with a lot of energy and new ideas kicking in. And again, growth lies in these exact codes. I will show you another little trick of how to a little bit lower the amount of emails coming into your inbox in general. Because we don't want to be someone says here, spending a lot of hours cleaning their inbox. This is not a good way to spend our time. So we'll talk about an inbox just for a little while when we get to the end. So one of the state of mind core habits that I want to discuss with you today, and I would like you to think about and write it down, is that basically there's a place and time for everything, and our job is to simply assign each task to its appropriate time and place. So if you're constantly approached, then you want to start speaking that language. Is this the right time and place for whatever it is that you're asking me of? And you have to ask yourself the same question. Is this the right time and place for me to conduct this meeting, to take care of this phone call, to address this email? Is this the right time and place for it? I'll give you an example of for my personal life. My mother would call me at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I only have 7 hours a day. I work from 9 to 4, and that's it. And so 10 o'clock in the morning is not the right time and place for me to have any personal conversations that are urgent. So I had to make it very clear for my family years ago, when I started my business and I had babies and whatever, I had to make it very clear that I don't answer the phone unless it's urgent, and if it's urgent, call me, okay? But don't call me unless it's urgent. So I have to make a very clear separation. What is the right time and place for my mother to be talking about her grandkids? Not 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday night, not 10 o'clock on a Monday morning, definitely not. So even my friends, they would be stuck in traffic and they want to call and chat, and I'm like, sorry, not time and place for chatting, and we'll see you tonight, and we meet over coffee. In personal, not virtual communication, but actual meeting, and then we'll talk about everything. I cannot give you my precious time just because you happen to be stuck in traffic right now. So it might be a good time for you and a good time and place for you to talk, but it's not a good time and place for me. So thinking about those things will make sure that you're assigning each task to its right time and place, and that on its own will get your productivity levels up. But how do we know what is the right time and place for each of our tasks? Especially if we're talking about the work environment right now. Because if you want to say something, this is not the right time and place for us to talk about it, then how do we know what is? So we know what is the best time and place for everything that we want to do if we schedule it in accordance to our HIME. And HIME is probably the most important term that I would like to discuss with you today. HIME stands for High Impact Minimum Effort. And we want to make sure that everything we do on our own HIME, where it requires the least amount of effort and it will give us the maximum impact. And HIME is completely subjective. So for some people, it will be a really good idea for them. It would be on their HIME to do their sports activities in the morning. And for others, it would be best in the evening or at night. And for some people, conducting phone calls or long phone calls will be requiring the least amount of effort for them if they do it during the noon time rather than in the morning. And for others, it will be the opposite. And for some people, writing a document, writing a worksheet of, or Excel spreadsheet, each task has a different energy. So for some people, to approach an Excel sheet in the morning would be the greatest thing for them. But for people like me, before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, no way am I opening an Excel sheet. My mind won't be able to focus on that energy, on what it requires for me. So actually to put HIME into action and to put it into your life, you really have to think, looking at your calendar from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock before you go to sleep, and try to schedule each and every task and activity to the right time that you think is the right time for you. And there's a long list of activities because making phone calls is a different activity than having face-to-face meetings, than having online meetings, than writing a document, than doing an Excel, than preparing slides, than writing emails, than answering the WhatsApp messages, than doing social networks. Each and every one of the tasks that I just mentioned has a different time. And you want to find when is the best time for you to go on social networks, for example.
It's not depend on us.
Right. So the things that we're discussing here, as I said before, they do require a little bit of cultural change in the way the company approaches its employees. So it cannot be 100%. You won't be able to build your own workday in perfect accordance to your HIME. It's going to be 90%. But even if you get to 90%, if 90% of the time you're doing things when it requires the least amount of effort and it will give you the excessive impact, then you're already getting your productivity levels up the roof, through the roof. So it's not 100%, but it could be easily a 90%. And for me, for example, to do phone calls is not a good thing for me in the morning. It requires a lot of energy for me to do phone calls in the morning. My husband, for example, he'll do the entire day from 7 o'clock in the morning till 9. He can do like 20 phone calls, and he'll finish most of his tasks for the day in the morning. I can't even look at my phone before, I'm completely different on that end. So when people want to talk to me, I try to schedule my phone calls for my HIME, which is from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And 90% of the time I'll be successful, and people will say, yeah, sure, we'll talk at 2, no problem. And then 10% of the time I will have to adjust myself to other people's schedule and other people's preferences, or if there's something urgent, then of course I will conduct phone calls at 10 o'clock in the morning. But at least if most of the time I'm scheduling it onto my HIME, then most of the time I'm going to be getting a lot of things done. And of course, here and then I'll have my phone calls. And then a week later he calls me and he says, listen, I found my HIME for presentations. I said, really, when is your time for presentation? He says, 2 o'clock in the afternoon after lunch. I could never imagine myself after lunch opening a PowerPoint and starting to design messages and slides. For me, it would definitely not be my time for presentations. But he found out that after lunch, he closes the doors, as most of the urgent things are out of his way already in the morning. Everyone's like a little bit more quiet in the office, and he closes the door. He tells everyone, I'm doing my presentations now, no interruptions, please. And he finished his presentations, his boss's presentations, and now he's got even a bigger project to do, the entire department presentations, whatever. You know, it turned out that he was so efficient on those hours that he got so many things done, all of a sudden everyone wants to give him their presentations now. So the thing about Haim is that there's a search journey going for that Haim. You have to try and schedule things, and when you see that it's not going as easy as it should be, then that's not the Haim for it. If you're feeling the task is not progressing with ease, then you should try to schedule it on a different hour, on a different day, and keep looking for the time where you find that this is the best time for this kind of task. Now I want to talk about the different energies. And the thing is not just doing all those different tasks, okay? Preparing a document, writing a brief, preparing a presentation, doing some coding work, doing some Excel work. All of these things have different energies and require different focus and attention and should be grouped together to their own Haim. So if I know, for example, that working on an Excel sheet for me would be best to do after 3 o'clock or between 3 to 4 in the afternoon. So all of the assignments that I have to do on the Excel sheets will be grouped together to that hour. And if I have phone calls to do, I will group them together and I will schedule them to my own Haim. So once I know that 1 o'clock is my Haim for phone calls, I will make sure that between 1 and 2, I schedule as many phone calls as I can. I will leave my desk. I will go away from it because I want to focus just on my phone calls and don't want to be distracted by other things happening on my laptop. So I will leave my desk and I will sit down with my notebook and I'll just run through 10 phone calls that I have to do, write them down in my notebook, whatever the action items that are required after, and then I'll return to my desk and then I'll do 1 hour of just emails and managing whatever the action items were from those phone calls that I need to do. But making a phone call and then sending an email that sums up the phone call and then another phone call, another email that sums up that phone call, that is not grouping together. That will make your energy levels go down. So you want to assign those tasks and group them together and schedule them on your own Haim and do them fluently without interruptions. And if you do social media work, for example, if you're in the marketing department, so you want to group together all the tasks that you have to do on Facebook, and you want to do that at 12 o'clock in the afternoon because you found out that 12 o'clock is your peak time for Facebook energy, okay? So you're going to group them together to 12 and 1, and you're going to block that time in your calendar so everyone in the marketing team knows that this is your Facebook time. And you're going to do all the Facebook at 12 o'clock. So grouping together tasks that have the same energy is super, super critical for your efficiency and effectiveness levels. And it's because the different communication channels that we have all have different energies. And if we switch quickly between working on our tablet, our mobile, our laptop, going to meeting, driving to a meeting, getting back, doing an online meeting, answering the phone, answering your messages, switching between all those different tasks and communication channels will reduce your energy levels and will make sure that you end up the day, exhausted. But if you can build up a day where you only have in-house meetings, for example, okay, or at least a half a day, where you're only doing meetings from 9 till 12, and then from 12 to 3, you're only doing your emails or whatever it is that you want to do on, okay, however you manage your day, but group them together, this will make sure that your energy levels stay up. And if you can imagine a day that you're doing only meetings, and between each meetings you have 10 minutes and you're just going to answer urgent phone calls that came in, on that day when you leave the office, you can run a marathon. Just because you didn't switch quickly between all those different communication channels. These are the things that are damaging and reducing our energy and getting our productivity levels down. I kept saying that we want to be both efficient and effective, and I want to mention how different those two terms are. So efficiency is doing things right, and effectiveness is doing the right thing. So effectiveness is the Heim, is doing the right thing, is scheduling, it's grouping together and scheduling the tasks to the right time and place. If I can schedule my tasks for the right time and place, then I'm being effective. And if I'm 100% focused on that task, then I'm also being efficient. So I want to be both efficient and effective in every task that I do. I want to be 100% focused onto without distractions, and I want to make sure it's scheduled for the right time and place. I want to talk about a web tool that I use to decrease the amount of emails that are happening in our inbox. And inbox is a really major issue. People spend a lot of time cleaning up their inbox and deleting a lot of things. And I don't think that's a very good use of your inbox. Inbox should be a place where you're constantly getting relevant information that is important to you and that helps you progress. And if you're constantly deleting things as if this is just a trash can that needs to constantly be emptied, then you're not using your inbox properly. So UnrollMe, for example, is a tool. There are others, but this is a tool that I work with, that once you put your email in there, and you probably won't be able to put your business email, you will only be able to put your private, Gmail, Yahoo account that you have, because most companies won't let UnrollMe have access to their servers. So you'll probably be able to just click in your personal email, but once you do, you will get a list of everything that you've ever signed up to. So all the newsletters that are getting into your inbox, you'll have in one very clean, nice screen, and you can unsubscribe within minutes from a bunch of them. This will make sure that your inbox only has relevant information for you, but it's not enough to use UnrollMe just once. Go into it every 3 months and clean it up again. And in between those times, you will have the option to register to new newsletters and media outlets that you want to get. So this will allow you to give your email gracefully and openly to many services and companies that want to email you things, because you know that in 3 months' time there's going to be a reminder to go into UnrollMe and clean it up again. So this is a tool that if we're using it systematically, we use it to make sure our inbox only gets us the relevant information, the important information that gets us to be more progressive and reach our goals. But today, many people fear to give their emails because they know what's happening in their inbox. So they obtain from registering to new media outlets. But that is not a solution. It's as if I'm just going to hide myself in the sand, not looking at the ocean of information out there for me. So using this tool right, it's like having this periscope where you can just all the time be on the search for new ideas, new information, new outlets, new connections, knowing that in 3 months' time, it will be time to rethink about this information and see if it's still relevant. Great. If it's not, it was nice, and that's the end of it. So that's a tool that you can use to decrease the amount of emails and making sure that your email is relevant to you and is helping you progress. And by the way, if you do decide to try this tool, I don't use the feature which is add to rollup. I only use the feature which is the unsubscribe feature. And I recommend that you don't use any other features rather than just the unsubscribe. The add to rollup feature allows you to get one email with different newsletters inside. So you can roll up together all the whatever, R&D news of your industry. But I don't think that's a good way of approaching information. You don't want to stack together different sources into one email. You want to get an email from each one of the sources to examine it, to think, what am I going to do with it? Is it relevant to me? Maybe I need to forward to someone else. Maybe it's not relevant to me and I'll remember to unsubscribe from it later on. But if you start rolling things up to one email, this will get you again in a hectic kind of situation where you're not focused on who's sending you what. So I recommend not to use that feature. Pocket is a great, great tool that I think is essential for every digital workflow that you may create. Anyone here works with Pocket now? Use it? Okay. Are you enjoying it?
I did.
Okay.
Rafi came back and told me to use it, and ever since then I started using it.
Rafi told you about it?
Very helpful.
It's very helpful. Again, Google is a great tool, but you have to know how to use it in order to really make the best out of it. So what is Pocket? I'll show you in a minute what it is. But it's basically a tool that allows you to keep content in a pocket, in an app, but without all the distractions of a web page. So if you have an article that you want to read and you will click on Pocket, Pocket will extract only the text, leaving out all the menus and hyperlinks and ads and all the noisy web, the noisy web thing happening on the screen. So once it takes only the text and you consume the content through Pocket, you can go quickly through a lot of articles just because you're getting it in a very nice UX experience. Okay, this is an article I extracted from a web page, and this is how it looks when I look at it in Pocket. And as you can see, there's only text. Okay, no hyperlink, no side menus, upper menus, no ads, no nothing of the webby noise happening around my eyes. And I can change the settings so I can read black on white or white on black or even this pink thing going on here. And I rather read white on black because it's easier on my eyes. And you can change the font and enlarge it to whatever you want, so you can adjust your preferences so that your reading is much more fluent and easy. And and if you address your Pocket on the right time and place for it, if you understand what your time is for reading, learning things, consuming content, going through content, if you understand what the right time for it is, and you're using it on your tablet rather than on your laptop, then you can go through 50 articles easily in an hour. Just by, first of all, scheduling it to the right time and place. Secondly, choosing the right screen for you to consume this content. And you'll be able to read through. So like Pocket is great. The best way to experience Pocket is if you use it on your tablet. Because the mobile phones have small screens, I don't recommend anyone consuming content on a small screen. But I do tag all the videos that I save to Pocket, and then if I go into Pocket, then I can ask him to show me just the videos that I saved. And then when I'll go into my car, I can just listen to the videos that I saved really, really quickly. Or if I'm walking and I want to hear some of the videos, then I'll just do it that way. So it just enables me to quickly approach all the videos and then consume them at once. And that is also something suitable for the mobile. Mobile is okay to consume videos. It's really not okay for content, for a text. Sometimes you get an email with content in it, but this is not the right time for you now to start reading that content. So you want to open it on your browser, save it to Pocket, and then delete that email, and then that piece of content is waiting for the right time and place for you to approach it and consume it, and your inbox is now being quieter, and you're not constantly being distracted to read all that interesting things happening in your inbox. You just kept them, and they'll just wait for you for the right time and place, and you can carry on with working on your inbox that way. And generally speaking, sometimes headlines will seem really catchy and interesting, and then you're going to go into Pocket and you're going to try and read them again. All of a sudden, they're not uninteresting. So you want to keep it in mind that you want to all the time be aware of the content that's being sent to your inbox, and then if after once or twice you see that that piece of content wasn't as good as it looked, then you'll remember to unsubscribe from it on UnrollMe on the next time you use it. So Pocket can really quickly become this graveyard for content, because it's really easy to save things to there, and then you'll just have tons of articles waiting for you to read, and you'll never find the time for them. So just installing Pocket is not efficient on itself. You have to understand when is the right time for me to open Pocket and read it, and if I see that I'm not getting to it, then I should stop saving things to that app, okay? Just until you clean it, don't save anything more to it, because just opening another place where it's going to have a long list of things you've never read, it's not going to be doing any good for your productivity levels. There's also an option that if you want to favorite an item in Pocket, then you can decide what favorite means to you. Has anyone heard of if this then that? It's a so it's a third-party tool that you can use to connect to other tools, two different tools. So you can use if this then that. I won't show you right now how it's done, but if you want, you can write it down and then do that. You can use if this then that to give that star a role, which means every time I click on a favorite item in Pocket, it can be sent to my inbox, or it could be sent to my Evernote, or it can be sent to any other app that you're using. So you can connect those different apps, and that will create your workflow. So sometimes I want to delete items from my Pocket, but sometimes I want them to come back to my inbox because I want to send them to other people. So I will click on star. The item will automatically be sent to my email. I will then be able to delete it from Pocket, and next day when I come into the office, I'll have the email again. I'll have that item waiting for me in my inbox, and I will be able to forward and do whatever action I want to do with it later on. Okay, so giving star a role is something important, because that would be really using the features of the app and not just saving content. You really want to be working wisely with it. And if you want to capture content to your Pocket from Facebook, for example, know that you have to open it on your browser first. A lot of times I read through my Facebook feed, and there's lots of things that I'm interested in and I want to read, but this is not the time and place for me to read. I just came in for 10 minutes just to check my notifications, see if there's anything happening there. I don't have time to read the content that I want, so I'll just open it on the browser from Facebook, save it to Pocket, and then carry on looking at my feed with ease. I won't have the stress of missing out anything, because I know that I captured it and it's going to be waiting for me. So that's another way of working around your FOMO. Things will wait for me when I get to them in the right time and place for them, and now I can carry on reading my Facebook feed without any worries or feeling FOMO of any sort. So again, Pocket is really all about reading and deleting, okay? It's not a place to save. It's just a transfer app. You just use to capture information and then delete or move it on forward and moving it on to other places. This is not a place where you just let things stay and hold. This is, otherwise you'll be misusing the app. Really the main idea here is to time your time and time the team's time too, and think about it and talk about it and play around with it. And remember that every time something isn't going with ease, then that means it's not in its time. So we don't want to be working harder. We really want to work with ease. We want to find the right time for every task where it takes the minimum amount of effort and it gives us the greatest impact. So don't listen to everyone who told you when we were kids, you have to work harder if you want to get someplace. No, you have to work smarter, not harder. You really have to look for the easy things and follow them. And if something goes, you're knocking your head and bouncing your head on the wall, then that's a bad sign. That's a sign that this is not the right time for it. And I'll finish with the alleged quote from Abraham Lincoln. It's not necessarily his. There's a debate on Wikipedia whose this wonderful quote belongs to. And it says, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." And that, I think, is, that sums up the idea that you really have to plan your workday. And you have to plan your workflows, and you have to really build the infrastructure and the system that will allow you to then work smarter, because you want to focus and you want to get things done really quickly, and you don't want to just let your day happen to you. You really want to make sure you're planning it and put the time into building your workflows and planning your day. It will give you a lot of benefits afterwards. So 80% of the time, it's really all about planning, and then 20% of the time is about executing. And that's the right ratio. Once you plan a lot, and the execution becomes really easy. So I welcome you to think and contemplate and rest and plan before you dash and do, okay? Because the doing really tires us, and it doesn't give us great results. So this is it for this morning, but I'm happy to take any of your questions and continue discussing this, and I'll switch to Hebrew soon, real soon. Thank you.